Okay. Let you.
Hi everybody. As for being, one thing I would like to say is that as looking at the situation, as a community, we should create an environment for our own police in a way so they don't have to come over there and deal with certain problems. See, if we had control of our neighborhoods and our problems, they won't have no business doing that. So as looking at different situations of what happened, I understand a lot of us are scared, especially you, a lot of us are scared, but if we come together as a community, because me, I'm willing to do anything. I promise, anything going on to help, because I want to, because I experienced different youth. I've been in the community and the projects, and all people say is that ain't nothing for the children to do. It's nothing for them to do. But they just run around. Every time when I see them, all they do is just run around in the projects. Ain't nothing for them to do. So if we could just create an environment as a community, pull our resources, or own a business or something that gravitates to our community, so we don't have to create peace within our community, so we don't have to worry about calling those. We ain't got to never call 911. If grandmama or somebody down the street, we could go handle that ourselves.
So I have a question, and I think I raised this at one of the last HRC events with the Know Your Rights program and whatnot, and I can hear the theme kind of coming up again, where my question to Chief Beal would be, how can you talk a little bit about the effort to patrol and the traffic stops where citizens in Dayton or who work and play in Dayton feel harassed for turn signals or very minor infractions. And I had asked if that was tracked in such a way where you could at least share with the community that it's worth that kind of interaction if it yields the warrants where someone is wanted for a crime, domestic violence or robbery or whatever it might be. And I think at that time in that discussion it said it was not tracked. So we don't know if all of this effort to pull people over and have that kind of crisis of interaction, people feel the anxiety goes up, they feel stressed, they're harassed. And when you're looking at those priorities, how do you evaluate your officers? Are they measured by how many arrests they make, how many tickets and citations they issue? Are we rewarding officers for the community relationships that they build, whether it's at a school event or a food truck rally or whatnot? And are we looking at how we, again, police our community so that people who come into my neighborhood from the suburbs looking to exploit the most drug-addicted woman, sexually exploit her, and to me that's an act of violence, and yet our vice unit was renamed and repurposed and has not been doing the level of enforcement in my neighborhood that I think we need. We set those priorities, right? I know that was probably 5 questions in one, but you're used to working with me, so you saw it coming.
So did you have a question for the?
I would like to hear a little. I would like to hear a little bit about that. I mean, it's the tip of the iceberg.
No, I wasn't being funny. I just want to make sure that
it's the tip of the iceberg for these discussions, right? And we can start there and we can look at these bigger systems, because our group talked about the opportunity maps, our group talked about education, we talked about economic opportunity, we talked about all of these different things. But while we have the chief here, I'd like to zoom in on that issue.
Well, I'll try to address all 5 of those in 5 minutes. I'm a little bit good. In terms of our enforcement, we implement something called problem-area policing, which focuses on solving problems in communities and neighborhoods. A lot of that's supported by analysis. So when we have crime spikes that occur, we have what's called pattern response. We try to identify those patterns and rapidly respond to those before those patterns become long-term trends. The results of this, we're actually making less arrests, by the way. Oh, by the way, also have less crime. Just a couple of policies that were implemented. One, when I became chief back in 2008, I found we're making a lot of physical arrests for traffic offenses, no driver's license, driver's suspension. And I evaluated those and looked at a couple of months, one back in the summer of 2007 and January 2008. The month I actually arrived in Dayton. And I looked at the results of those arrests and I said, you know, this is good policing, I'm not seeing it, because these physical arrests aren't resulting in any other evidence of any other significant crime. So a policy was implemented that basically if someone didn't have any prior offense of that nature in the last 3 years, traffic offenses of that nature literally dropped by thousands over the next few years. In fact, they continue to decline. Actually, this was about a complaint from the Hispanic Latino community that felt they were profiling. Because individuals were arrested, many were subsequently some who were not here with legal status were deported. The policy, though, really was more beneficial to white and Native American citizens because that's overwhelmingly being arrested. So we quit making physical arrests for traffic violations that weren't producing anything else but benefit, and we started focusing on more significant crime. There was a policy enacted by the Dayton Municipal Court, which I vigorously supported, which was vigorously opposed by the union president at the time, about not arresting people, warrants for their arrest. So basically it was called a warrant law, which means the person was renewed their license and renewed until they paid that fine or appeared in court. That resulted in thousands of the less arrests. I did the same thing. We use analysis. I looked at 4,500 arrests, and less than I think 1 or 2% of those arrests resulted in anything more significant being occurring with that individual. So we had these thousands of arrests we're making with really no benefit other than you're serving a warrant. That is no longer. In terms of how we approach this departmentally, we are strategically focused, I'd say laser focused, on areas where the crime is surfacing and on those things that are important, like reducing gun violence. We had less than 30 homicides. I wish we had 0, but less than 30 homicides, 27 homicides last year. The year before, when I first came here, it was closer to 40. We know that's directly related to community initiative to reduce gun violence, which is coordinated now by the Human Relations Council. So we are very focused on the kind of crime that matters, and we're not making enforcement contacts or at least arrests for minor offenses. That's been some of the shift over the years.
I'm not following that.
Well, you're talking about
Example where she stopped for a traffic stop for those warrants of maybe higher crimes.
well, there's a warrant we're not arresting people for. We go ahead.
But do you know what I'm saying? Like, so if you still have officers that are following people and pulling them over for not using a turn signal or not making a complete stop in the interior of the neighborhood, like that whole process where I hear from neighbors. They post on Facebook, I didn't even get a ticket, I got a warning, but they're pissed, right? Because the experience of how they feel in terms of profile or harassed, both white, black, Hispanic, all of that is what I'm describing in terms of how officers build community relationships and how they spend their day and how many people they're pulling over each day and maybe that they don't even give a ticket to. Do you know what I mean? Like that crisis of interaction where your anxiety goes up and people are fearful. You know what
We
I mean?
can track them through what's called a traffic stop. Most of those should be captured through the dispatch.
I mean,
Now, all the circumstances about why, it won't tell us that, it just tells us that it happened. And let me just give you an example of what happens when a crime is reported. This is when I was assistant chief. I was driving through over the Ryan, and a description came out for a blue van involved in a minor offense. Within 2 minutes, I saw 4 blue vans. Only one could potentially be involved. And actually, none of them could potentially be involved, right? The more general the description, the more individuals or the more vehicles that could be potentially stopped. So a lot of it has to do with the quality of information police officers receive. The more precise the information, the less innocent people who really had nothing to do with it are likely to be stopped. The more vague the description, the larger group of people that could be stopped. So you can have a lot of people be stopped who will say, I didn't do it, but because the description wasn't all that detailed, it could have been. And there in my student, we get, a blue van, and there's 4 blue vans, and within the same area in 2 minutes, probably all 4 blue vans are going to get stopped. what's occurring, type of crime, etc. Can we track traffic stops through computer dispatch code? Yeah, we can. But that don't necessarily tell us so much.
For being present and bringing your full disclosure of what you truly feel. And we're going to have to continue this. There are two other important people I want to acknowledge. The first is Erica Fields, who helped put this whole event together. And the most important is human relations officer. I'm going to follow up with another discussion. It doesn't, we're not even concerned about the number of people, if we didn't fill a room or not, because typically what happens is a small group that make big things happen, so we're going to build on this. And there's no way that we're just going to answer one issue of it. There's a series of issues all kind of combined together, so we're going to have to work on this together. Like everyone always said, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So we're going to have to do that. And my name is Anthony Marwick, and I do events called the Conversation Piece. And what I like to do is engage people. I engage them with provocative questions. And the whole point of the questions are, there are no right or wrong answers, only can you defend what you believe. And then from that discussion, then you're having dialogue. I enjoy what you said about relationships. And that's what we have to create. We have to create relationships. And then we get to understand each other. So as we conclude, I want to say thank you all again. And please. Okay, sorry.
On June 11th, is there a sign-in sheet, I think, in the back? And if, I'm not sure if people signed up or not, but if you want to know about the next event coming in June, or if you want to get an opportunity to have, if you sign the sheet, we'll make sure you guys get a copy. And then on June 4th, I think it's called. Alright, there's two events coming up that,
it's just one event, it's just kind of continuation. We partner with HRC and they've really done a lot of legwork on this event on the 4th too. But we're having an event called Reducing Disparity Impact and Inequality in the Judicial System. It's really a discussion from A to Z, from policing all the way through reentry after being sentenced. So our goal is to focus on actual concrete solutions to reform our justice system. We have legislators, we have people with connections to the legislature in Columbus. After we have the event, we're going to put together a list of action plans, and we're going to move forward with lobbying those particular agendas. So that's the goal of that particular discussion. It's at 5:30 to 8:30 at Central State Downtown Campus off of Germantown. I don't remember our address. But if you need any information, there's a number of folks there now. Omaha's been invited. Feel free to come out. It's just a continuation of what HRC has been attempting to do for the past X number of months. They've been making a lot of efforts to make this a reality. So we're just trying to kind of follow along with that particular mission. So please come out. The chief will be on the panel along with those in the
and then, also on June 11th, over at Mega Baptist Church, there'll be opportunity for research to action, where we're going to be dissecting more of the opportunity maps and then trying to develop strategy and plans to create more equity in City of Dayton.
It'll be the return to the federal building to put a little bit of pressure on John Crawford and DOJ during the day for justice for John Crawford. The case is still open and we'd like to know what's going on with that case. He told us to give him about 3 months and we respected that and gave him 3 months. So he needs to return back up there to the federal building to see what's going on with the case, you know, exactly where they are with making their final decision on Sean Williams and Sergeant Darby and Ronald Richard, of course. Forgot when we started the whole thing. 2 lives was lost in Walmart. So it'll be May 29th. If you all would like to come and stand out there with us, it's out there. That would be wonderful. Yeah, so just come out. We have a few guest speakers. Iris Riley will be coming